Hello, thank you for joining me and welcome to my rather rustic kitchen in Thailand, where I'm going to make my very first cookery video. So today I'm going to show you how to make super delicious, super easy, gluten-free brownies. A link to the recipe will be in the description if you want it. So I hope you enjoy making these brownies with me. Let's get started. So here goes. This is what you're going to need. You'll need some baking paper and a pen, a baking tin. This one's 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters and about the depth of my thumb. Some scales. This recipe is in grams, so hopefully you'll have a grams setting on your scales. A bowl, quite a big bowl, but any bowl is fine. A measuring jug or something that will allow you to measure 200 milliliters. A spoon for mixing, a sieve, a knife and a plate to put your brownies on when they come out of the oven. That's it. So let's see what ingredients you need. Almond powder, or ground almonds it's sometimes called. I use 200 grams. Sunflower oil. This replaces the butter that was in my original recipe and I think makes it a little healthier. You'll need 200 milliliters of this. And eggs. You'll need 4 eggs. If they're really large eggs, just use 3. So this is the main structure of the brownies. The rest of the ingredients are really for flavouring, and it's kind of up to you what proportions you want to add. So you'll need soft brown sugar. I use 40 grams of this. I've cut down the sugar a lot in this recipe. You'll need dark cocoa powder. I use 100 grams of this. It adds a nice rich flavour. And the star of the show, chocolate. Because there's less sugar, I feel okay about adding a lot of chocolate, and I will add anything up to 150 grams. I like dark chocolate. Sometimes I use the bar, or sometimes I use chocolate beans. It's whatever is available, and it's also whatever you like, even white chocolate if you want. Next, you need to line your baking tin. Don't worry if you've never lined a baking tin, it's pretty straightforward. So you'll need your baking paper. Take a piece of baking paper, make sure that it's big enough to cover the whole of the tin and it leaves a good border on all sides. Place the tin on the baking paper and draw around the tin. You'll have something that looks like this. Here's the shape of my tin. Next, you need to cut out the corners like this with a pair of scissors. You should end up with something like this. Here's the tin shape, and you cut out the corners. Now you can line your tin. Place the baking paper over the top and push down inside the tin, making sure that the corners overlap. Ta-da! You've lined your tin. Now we're ready to put the ingredients together. Okay, let's get started. First of all, turn on your oven. 150 degrees C, that's 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Bear in mind your oven might be a little different, so you may need to adjust the temperature, but start with 150 degrees. So let's get cooking. You'll need your scales and the bowl. I place the bowl on the scales so that I can pour the ingredients directly into the bowl and I don't have lots of dishes to wash up at the end. So turn on your scales. going to add, first of all, 40 grams of soft brown sugar. So sprinkle it in until you get to 40 grams. There you go, 40 grams of soft brown sugar. You can switch off your scales now. If you want to measure out the ingredients beforehand, you can do that. I just do the cheats method. As I said, it cuts down on the washing up. Next, we're going to add the sunflower oil. You will need 200 milliliters of sunflower oil and add that to the sugar. Give the two ingredients a bit of a stir. Maybe there'll be some lumps of sugar that you might want to squash out. Next, we add the eggs, and I'll use the same measuring jug to whisk up my eggs. Just give them a little stir with the spoon. Now you can add the eggs to the sugar and oil. Once again, give it a bit of a stir to try and combine the ingredients. Okay, next we add the 200 grams of almond powder. So switch on your scales and shake out 200 grams into the bowl. This is a fairly flexible recipe, so if you don't get it exactly right, it's fine. For example, I've got 202 grams here. Now we're going to add the dark cocoa powder. You can place the sieve directly on the bowl, reset your scales. Now you can add 100 grams of dark cocoa powder. Here we go. You can switch off the scales at this point and shake through the cocoa powder into the mixture to remove all of the lumps. I just push the last few through with my fingers. So now with your spoon, mix it all together. Make sure that you incorporate all of the ingredients and that there are no white lumps of almond powder. It's quite a loose mixture, but you will find that as you mix, it will thicken up. Okay, so there we go. Next is the fun part. We add the chocolate. So today I'm going to use a mixture of beans and a bar of chocolate. I'm going to add 150 grams of chocolate. So I'll reset my scales and sprinkle in the chocolate. I'm actually going to use a bar of chocolate as well. You can roughly chop the chocolate with a knife. So let's add some of the broken chocolate. There we go. I'm going to switch off my scales now that I have 150 grams of chocolate. And I'm going to mix in the chocolate with the rest of the ingredients. And there you have it. That's your brownie mix. Now it's time to spoon the brownie mixture into your baking tin. Just spoon it in. You can see that the mixture has really thickened up. So spread it around. If you want perfectly smooth brownies, then use a wet spoon to flatten the top. There you go. So now you can place your brownie in an oven. I use a small oven and I place it on the middle shelf, 150 degrees C or 300 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 30 minutes. Let's see how it turns out. Can't wait. After about 30 minutes, you can remove the tin from the oven. And your brownie should look like this. You'll notice that it's very bubbly and there'll be quite a lot of oil that's come out of the recipe, but that's fine, that's absolutely normal. I like to take my brownie out of the tin straight away, so I lift it onto a plate. I just use the sides of the greaseproof paper to lift it. I allow the excess oil to drain away and then transfer it to the plate where I leave it to cool. So while the brownies are still warm, I cut them into pieces. I cut 5 one way, and 3 the other. That gives me 24 pieces of brownie. They're quite small, but the brownies are rich. And also, if they're small, you don't feel so bad about eating 2. Now, it might seem very tempting to eat hot brownies, but be patient. It takes a while for the flavour to develop. It's much better if you leave the brownies to cool, and even leave them in the fridge overnight. So after you've left them a couple of hours and your brownies have cooled, hopefully you won't find that one is missing like this. Or 2 are missing actually, the corner pieces. But all I can say is the corner pieces are my boyfriend's favourite bits. Now that they're cooled, you can place them in an airtight container. As I said, if you can leave them until the next day, they taste a lot better. I keep mine in the fridge and they can last up to a week, although that's never actually been put to the test. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I'd love to know if you make the brownies and what you think of them. And more importantly, did you enjoy eating them? Hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye.